Alrighty. Welcome back again, any and everybody. This is Lynn and Otter here to do another episode of One Last Night. Let's see here. Last we left off, we just got off with some playful ribbing between Xavier and Dorian. I feel like I'm never gonna have a hard time remembering that name for a while, just because just such a random name. Let's see if we get started on our track to Burrows. Let's see if we get started on our trek to Haven. Yeah. Oh, the gravestone. Oh, right. Okay. Well, they were just in the middle of a conversation first. And pausing now. Gotta start my timer again, of course. There we go. That. Well, after what you told me last night, it didn't feel right to leave nothing there in their memory. Oh, wait, let me take a... Jeez, I'm never actually prepared. Sorry, that was loud. Okay, let's go use my tablet. Whoever they were before, they surely had a life. People who cared for them and people they cared for. Plus, since I had a crucial role in their death, I felt this sense of responsibility. I should be the one to lay them to rest. Xavier, I know. They weren't who they once were, and are probably grateful to be free of that horrible state. Still, I couldn't just do nothing. I waited in silence for a few moments after that before speaking up once more. Can I finish what I was saying now? Go ahead. I was going to say, I'm proud of you, kid. Xavier gave a surprised look at that. Oh, why's that? Well, you've got a good head on your shoulders. You have a moral compass to be admired, and it's something I'm happy to see in someone your age. He shot me a glare at that last part. Again, you're only 3 years older. I intertwined my hands and closed my eyes, attempting my best impression of how I imagine someone would look if they were enlightened. And yet, I am wise beyond them. It was met with a laugh from my companion that I joined in on. Keep telling yourself that, old man. I had fun editing that SpongeBob little moment in there from that. from last episode. I'm gonna use that again for sure. The laughter continued as we finished up with the remainder of our soup, and I beckoned Xavier over. Alright, let's go over your inventory and see what you have. It occurred to me then I didn't even know how he'd been keeping his supplies like the food from last night. Say, where are you keeping your stuff? You don't have a backpack. Xavier gave me a smile as he slid off his quiver. That's because I've been using this. Passing it over to me, the thing was a lot bulkier than I'd realized. While it was skinny at the top and bottom for arrows, the thing was covered in pouches and pockets used to store various things. Where did you even get something like this? My parents invested in some self-defense survival company, and this was one of the rewards for the tier they pledged. Oh wow. Their what do you call it? Kickstarter. Their Kickstarter pledge really came through. Fascinating. It was unlike anything I'd seen before, and yet there was a vague sense of familiarity about the design I couldn't quite place. I hand the quiver back over to Xavier before opening my bag once more to replace the books into their respective plastic bag. Then I slide a new smaller notebook with a pen out of one of the front pockets I'd placed there as a spare for a spare. Huh? I open it up to the first page, writing Xavier Supplies across the header. Alright, so kid, let's start with the easiest thing and probably most important for you to track, the arrows. As I counted them out, Xavier began speaking to fill the silence. Sorry if everything is a bit disorganized. I just grabbed whatever was near and shoved it into the pockets anywhere they'd fit. Well, aside from the few things I already had in there. Not glancing up, I continued the conversation as I inspected the arrows for wear and tear in order to separate them into two groups. What did you already have? The arrows, most obviously. Other than that, it was a few basic supplies like the rations, a water bottle, a book on Morse code, a multi-tool, etc. I paused and glanced up at him. Wait, what was that last thing? Etc. I know the other thing. Xavier gave me a confused look. Oh, oh wow, he said etc. Well, etc. Well, it's an adverb that's used to indicate that there are more similar things following. He cut himself off, seeing the deadpan look I gave him. Surely you know what a multi-tool... Oh, surely you know what a multi-tool is, Dorian. I shook my head and drew out a long sigh. The book, Xavier. The book, Xavier. How is that? The book, Xavier. How's that a basic supply? Why wouldn't it be? You'll never know when Morse code might come in handy. But once you learn it, do you really still need the book around? I guess not. Unless you forget. You have to commit the entire, basically, second language to memory at that point. There were a few moments of silence that followed before he spoke up again. Do you know Morse code? Nope. Aha! The book has a use once more. Point Xavier. Since when is there a score over our conversations? Since I started winning. This elicited a laugh from the both of us as we began to focus more on taking stock of his supplies. Sure enough, it was a bit of a messy ordeal. While the aforementioned items were there, including the book, everything was strewn about. I was glad I had taken the time to do this beforehand. This would make things easier down the line if we ever needed to search for something. I draw a small sketch of the backpack quiver in my... Sorry. I wonder if there's supposed to be a comma there. No. Backpack quiver? I draw a small sketch of the backpack quiver in my book and annotate the pockets with numbers. From there, I write the numbers on the opposite page and list each object stored there with their quantity. Not bad. Despite Xavier having to grab whatever he could, he had a fair amount of items that could be useful later for basic survival. Some rope, a small mirror, a miniature first aid kit that was nearly all bandages, water purification tablets, holy cow, a deck of cards, and more. Deck of cards? Yu-Gi-Oh cards? If it ever came down to it. Not a bad haul, kid. We'll make a survivor out of you yet. Thanks. Xavier shot me a beaming smile, and I felt my heart skip a beat at seeing the joy in his features. I really was growing attached to him, and fast. I'd never been the type to make quick friends, but he and I just seemed to click naturally. It was a nice contrast. I closed the notebook and slid the pen back down its spine, holding it out to Xavier. Well then, here you go, kid. Xavier was surprised at the gesture. Wait, what? You're just giving it to me? Of course I am. After what you told me yesterday, I figured you could use one for yourself. It's a good way to keep track of and organize everything. It's a good way to keep track of and organize everything you need to, even if that's just your own thoughts. The bat smiles and opens the notebook, making a notation on his inventory page and placing it into his quiver. With the bags now organized, I stood up from the log and brushed off my pants. What's next on the to-do list, then? Anything else we need? I stretched my back as I answered, eyes closed as I felt a bit of my midriff exposed from my shirt. But that's how you know it's one of those good stretches. Nothing we can't do on the road. I'll pack up our tent while you put up the campfire. I waited for his response, but was met with silence. Opening my eyes again, I saw he was staring up at me as I stretched, seemingly in a daze. Hello? Oh, jeez. Earth to Xavier. I waved my hand in front of his face, which seemed to snap him out of it. What? Oh, right. Sure thing, Dorian. Oh, jeez. So he's one of us. Similar to, jeez, Dorian. The name's right there in my face. Alright, well, I feel like, oh man, this makes me nervous though, because if this kid gets a crush on us and we haven't found Marshall yet, ooh, I'm detecting drama in the future. He quickly moved himself to the other side of the campfire and crouched down in an attempt to hide himself behind the flames. Strange kid. Ah, come on, Dorian. Stop being the typical, your average anime protagonist. I feel like it's pretty clear what he might have been transfixed by. Very explicit detail of the shirt being lifted up. Or is that just me? I don't know. I mean, I'm not very aware of these things sometimes, but anyway. I turned back and walked over to the tent, rolling up my sleeping bag and tying it to the bottom of the pack. We'd have to find one for Xavier later, but for now, the nighttime warmth of another person was a welcome sensation. Considering how well he was sleeping when I woke up, I could tell he enjoyed it as well. Especially if he had no blankets the past few nights while wearing that outfit. Naturally, Xavier had finished first and walked over to help me dismantle the tent. It didn't take long between the two of us, and next thing I knew, we were ready to go. Alright, that should be everything, kid. Let's move on. Let's get a move on. The two of us walked over to the path leading out of the clearing, and I stopped at the edge, tossing a look back at the area. Please don't. Huh? Like, if you start singing. I glanced over to him, a very judging look on his face. Don't what? You look like you were about to speak to the campsite and say goodbye, as if it were sentient. I blinked at the sudden personal read. Well, it served me well, and it deserves a thanks. Xavier shook his head and gave me a smile. Whatever helps you sleep at night, old man. He turned around and continued to walk. He turned around and continued the walk down the path, giving me some time alone with the place. Looking back behind me now, the moment had passed, and I let out a sigh as I followed after him, muttering under my breath. Point Xavier. As I say, the campsite served you well. It's a dramatic, turn. All right, and off we go. We're off. Hero's journey. Yeah. Musical montage time of us traveling. You're off on a hero's journey, a champion through and through, more or less, doing what all the heroes do. Oh wow, really? This is pretty. Yeah, let me turn it down just in case though. That is some pretty sound though, wow. Yeah, traveling montage time. Alright. The canopy above allowed glimpses of sunlight through as we trekked towards the city, me taking the lead as I'm more familiar with the terrain and know where we're going. No matter how much time I'd spend out here, I don't think I'd ever get enough of walking these trails. There was just something I found comforting about these woods, like it was a home away from home, with a fresh scent of nature in the air. I suppose that was one benefit of the end. The air pollution had to reduce significantly. There was no longer that heavy stench of motor oil and rotten garbage that often came with it. Yeah, that's one thing, I guess. It was a nice change of pace to be able to breathe fully and not have to worry about inhaling the smell of someone's leftovers. That had been in the refrigerator a bit too long and sat baking in the black bag under the unforgiving sun. I turned my attention back to our walk, not letting myself get lost in the unnecessary thoughts. I don't need to get caught off guard while having some kind of crap attempt at a poetic monologue. That'd be a heavily embarrassing way to die. Mid-internal monologue just gets snatched. Just get got. Well, for me at least. We continued to walk in silence for a good half hour or so, and before my brain can make another attempt at ranting to myself, Xavier speaks up. So? Nice weather we're having. I blink at the bat and shoot him a look of amused disappointment. Yes, it's quite lovely. Not an aircraft in sight. Now, what is it that you really want to ask? Xavier begins to redden in embarrassment as I call him out. I didn't really have anything specific in mind to talk to you about. I just, wanted to talk more with you. And you thought the weather was a good place to start? He threw his arms up in defeat. I don't know, man. I'm a year out of practice with this stuff. And I didn't exactly speak to many people before then either. I'm not really sure how conversations are supposed to go. Another socially awkward. Hey, socially awkward. Another visual novel. Maybe I'll do that one next. Another socially awkward butterfly like I used to be. Well, kid, here's some advice. If you want to talk to someone you're not familiar with, try broaching them with a topic to get to know them better. From there, you're sure to find something in common, and if not, you can always learn something new. Xavier took a moment to consider that before responding. Well then, how did you end up getting so confident? If you're able to talk with people now, what gave you that push forward? Before I could stop myself, I barked out a laugh. Oh, kid, I am not confident in the slightest. Really? Yeah, really. I come off as confident because that's how I choose to act. Fake it till you make it, as they say. Inside, I'm actually a bundle of worries, but the more time you spend putting on a show, the easier it gets each time. I can see in my companion's eyes as he filed that mental note away to use later. You really suit this mentor role well. It must be all those years of experience. Am I the first person you've taken under your wing? I covered my laugh with a cough at hearing him use that turn of phrase. I suppose you are. I've never really had anyone to train or teach things. I'm usually the student in those situations. Then, for my sake, I hope you take a few notes to prepare yourself for this then. Wait, what? I'm sure you... Oh, I hope you took a few notes to prepare yourself for this then. Yes, I'm sure this will be my greatest challenge yet, teaching a young brat the true ways of the world. Xavier looked shocked at my word choice. Who are you calling a brat? Did I say that? I'm pretty sure I said brat. I may be the older one here, but it seems like you're the one in need of a hearing test. We both began laughing at my retort, continuing to walk forward. All right. Point Dorian on that one. Aw, thanks, Xavier. I rolled my fingers through his head for an appreciative gesture. Though if I'm going to be your mentor, I'm not sure how well that fares for me. What do you mean? Well, often in media, whenever the mentor figure is introduced to a character and trains them, said leader ends up dying. It's a classic trope used across all kinds of narratives. Yeah, the dead mentor trope. But that gives me a glare at that. Not everything is a movie or whatever, though, is it? You're right. Sometimes life is a visual novel. Sometimes, though, life is a bit more enjoyable. If you see it through that lens, especially when you find yourself in a reality such as this one. Xavier nodded in agreement before thinking something over once more. How about this? In order to break that sort of narrative, I teach you a few things in return. A transaction of skills so the whole thing is less one-sided. Would that break the trope? It couldn't hurt to try. I've always wanted to get better at archery. Can't say whether I'll be a good teacher or not, but I've been practicing since I was a kid. It's always been one of my hobbies, and I grew quite good at it. I mean, you saw me help you take down that Faded. I think I'm a pretty good shot. That you are. You really saved my keister back there. You really saved my tuchus back there. I wasn't exactly going to let you die now, was I? I'd been taught to always look out for myself first, but knowing I could help you then, that I could do something, the feeling was liberating. What's next? Are you going to thank me for being in danger? In your dreams, old man. The two of us shared another laugh at that. On the topic, though, how'd you get so good at using the spear? You might not believe me, but honestly, fencing. I was on the school team for all of middle and high school. Granted, I was rusty when things started to go wrong a year ago, but training with the folks at Haven helped me get back to a point where I could defend myself properly. Hell, they even made my spear. Wait a second. I give the weapon a little twirl to accentuate my point. He's already met the people from Haven? Better than wielding a regular kitchen knife like I was using at the time. Instead, it became the tip for my new weapon. Wow, I know you told me a bit about them before, but what else can you say about Haven? Seriously, I'm surprised this is a turn of events for me. I thought for a moment about my time with them. As I said, they're a safe community. It first started as a place to gather survivors in order to create a sense of unity amongst the unknown. Then, when the Faded started appearing, they began establishing themselves as a hub of safety for those that needed it. They built up walls to keep Faded and other enemies out. They set up a system of scouts to search for supplies, monitor the area, track Faded, rescue survivors, and more. Granted, its formation was completely by accident, just a bunch of people trying to help, turning into a sanctuary for those in need of help. There are other groups amongst the city, some like Haven, and others going towards a darker path. Overall, however, Haven stands amongst the best of the options in my opinion. Xavier smiled at this. No matter the world we live in, people still find a way to come together. Based on how you talked about them, you really admire them, don't you? I give him a smile back. Of course I do. They're some of the best people I know. I doubt I'd be here without them. Then, if you trust them so much, so do I. He gave me a nod as we walked the path forward in silence for a few moments, conversation reaching its natural end. It was quiet for a while again, the two of us enjoying the company of the other, until there was a familiar noise off just to the left of the path. I had been to it a lot over the past few months, and since it was on the way, I thought it would be a perfect pit stop. Oh, I thought this was about to get dangerous. I began to veer towards the brush as Xavier walked up next to me. Why are we going this way? Won't the path lead us to the city? It will, and we'll get there in due time. However, we've got a few things to do before reaching Haven. A few side quests and, filler episodes before we reach that part. Like what? You'll see. What happened to the whole telling me everything part? If it'll be something important that you need to know to help with survival, absolutely. Menial tasks like these, though, can be left as sweet little surprises. So this is one of our pit stops? Correct. I walked a bit faster to get ahead of the bat as we began traipsing through the underbrush, the sound slowly growing louder as we approached. We're about to reach somewhere, but, yeah. I wonder where they're gonna get to. I wonder what their, menial task for the day is. We're gonna have to save that till next time. This was a cute little episode. The music was beautiful. I wonder who did the music. Props to you. Let me go ahead and save this here. Alrighty. Thanks you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna have this episode uploaded later today, hopefully. Feel free to check out my other social media stuff. I've got the Twitters, the Twitches, the TikToks, and anything else that starts with T. The Tinstagram and the YouTube. I actually have a second channel too that I'm just starting. It's called Linen Otter Stuff, but for now I'm just kind of uploading things there that I feel don't really fit on this channel, just because this channel has the focus of visual novels now, and so if I start uploading other random things like my drawing live streams, it might, I don't know. I'm trying to, come at this from a professional perspective. I think it's better to just have a separate channel for something that's veering off the main focus of this channel. But we'll see. In the meantime, feel free to follow me on those other social media places if you'd like. Let's see. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. There will be more to come soon. I'm also going to go ahead and do another visual novel. I'm going to add one to the roster. I can't remember their name again. It's Maestro Wolf Gonix. Good idea that they suggested about having a few visual novels going on at a time. So I'll try to make sure it doesn't slow the pace of my uploading, but I'll probably try to upload maybe a couple of videos a day, depending. Just so we can have a few, like I said, just more variety. It'll be the Linen Otter Variety Hour. But so I got to pick another visual novel to do. I'm really debating because I'm still thinking I want to get one of my friends involved with this, but we'll see how that goes. I think, are there any other updates I should give? No, I guess that's it. Just be on the lookout for me uploading on the other channel, Linen Otter Stuff. I might put video essays there too, like reviews and commentary things, just for fun. Because I'm wrapping up some of the character stills that I've been working on. It's been rough. But, so and you guys can see me do that on Twitch Live if you like. I think I already mentioned it. But anyway, I think that's enough updates. Thank you guys again for enjoying. If you did, I hope you did. Or at the very least, hope you have a better day or a better evening. And take care till next time. Bye-bye.